the the impetus for how I arrived at this training, with all the research I've been doing over the years, and some of it you've been able to see through hundreds of videos about almost anything you can imagine in psychology and cognitive science, is to work on things that I see in myself or that come up in my discussions with others. And these are like high payoff things that we can address and we can change in how we think. And it's been remarkable because before, I used to say this in my old videos, that, you know, our thinking and our minds has always been, to me, and probably to most, a black box where we think our thoughts are random. We have no idea where they're coming from, and there's no rhyme or reason for them. And so it's like, how could you begin to approach something that's seen in this way? And in reality, in psychology and the cognitive sciences, there's so much amazing research being done about how the mind works. And the interesting thing is how we get there is through studying problems, people that have problems or disorders, pathologies. And so you might see some of my discussions being inspired by or revolving around certain types of issues, right? Whether we're talking about anxiety or depression, and more recently things of that sort. But and even before, when we were looking at executive functioning with ADHD and things like that, and people will see a video or a title and say, okay, you know what, that's not me, so I'll just skip it. But the point that I'm always underlining and emphasizing is we don't have to have a specific ailment or issue to benefit from what the research is finding and how we can utilize that, right? Because all of it teaches us about how our minds work. At the end, we want to know how our minds work. So let's take, for example, this recent attention training. It's used to treat anxiety, depression, worry, rumination. And you may or may not have a certain level of one or more of those things, but certainly you can learn a whole lot about how you think by listening to those videos that I made and working through the exercises or the training if you are a member. I'd like to talk just a little bit about this attention training. It's one of those things that's changed my life. And look, the cost of membership is so low that you know, I'm not trying to sell you on anything. You can do whatever you want, but it's one of those things that's changed my life, and it's amazing. Like, I would now, knowing what I know, I would pay $1,000 for something like this instead of $10 or $20. It's that valuable, it's that powerful. Let me just share a few things about that. So, like the attention training program that is in the members area right now on my channel, it helps to strengthen your executive functioning and to reduce or help you get out of perseverative thinking, which is prolonged, repetitive, cyclical type of thought, right? Any type of overthinking or thinking that you just get lost in, you get pulled or sucked into it. And it's usually going to be bad, right? It's negative, it's worrying, it's ruminating, it's counterproductive in so many ways. That's what this attention training helps with. And I'm trying to think now, you know, if I mention this to someone, or some casual viewer online sees this, they'll say, oh, attention, you know, what's pay attention. I'm fine with that. I have no issue. It's incredible how much there is there that's unknown to most people in terms of their attention. For example, if you're talking about focusing your attention, eliminating distractions or resisting distractions, being able to switch your attention and focus on different things and do it cleanly. So, like for example, sometimes you're at a meeting or you're in class or you're listening to something, your thoughts pull you away to something else, and then you're spacing out, you come back and you forgot what was just said. That's distraction. And let's say that you come back to what you're doing, but still there's some residue in your mind from what you were thinking before or what was happening before outside, externally. And so we work on that with something called switching your attention. And then there's something else called divided attention, where we train using sounds, and there's a reason why we do this. We don't work on visual training, and we don't do this the normal kind of meditation or anything like that. This is nothing like that at all. We're trying to accomplish specific goals, but the part of that attention training, which is called divided attention, again in the members area of my channel, it helps pull you out of that perseverative thinking. It's incredible. And the thing I've been realizing myself is that, look, I work through this stuff myself, and I try to do this almost on a daily basis. The amazing thing is, you're training your mind to behave on its own in ways that are better for you. I'll give you an example right now. So when I would used to get lost in thought before, and I'm exaggerating maybe, I don't know, it seems like 10, 20 minutes, right? Sometimes when you're lost in thought, you're ruminating over something that went wrong, a relationship that went bad, or something good that you missed. And, it's better than, maybe the present moment where you're bored and lonely and you're just lost in thought about some good times. Most of the time, it tends to be bad or negative thinking, right? So rumination. And I noticed myself recently, my mind, through this attention training, pulls me out of that by itself. And it doesn't take very long. Years back, let's say I'd get stuck for 10, 20 minutes ruminating on a problem, dwelling on something in the past, a loss or a pain or a terrible experience, just dwelling on it for the umpteenth time, right? These days, when that happens, and it happens, let's say it happens less frequently, but when it does happen, my attention, part of my mind pulls me out of that within a minute or two. I mean, it's very quick. And then I realize myself, wait a minute, I got pulled out of that. And I used to dwell on that type of thinking for a very long time. Remarkable. We're training our minds to process, to behave differently, if I can use that word, behave. It's not a behavior, it's a way of processing. And so that's one thing. And worrying, I used to worry a whole lot more. These days, very, very little. And it all comes out of this training that I'm giving to the members and that I've practiced myself for a long time. Worrying, rumination, overthinking, perseverative thinking, these lead to anxiety. And this is an interesting thing for me. I had no idea that I had anxiety at some points in my life. I didn't even know what it was. And recently I began to feel what anxiety feels like. It's not a good feeling if you've been anxious, if you felt anxiety. And a lot of the time, most of the time it's unnecessary. It's not It doesn't make any sense. It's just because of the thoughts that are coming up into your mind that are making you anxious. And it could be things that you're worried about. It could be negative thoughts. It could be a number of things. But that anxiety is preventable. You can eliminate it. And the work that we're doing addresses that exactly.